Good morning, YouTube. Well, here we are. It is gone past 6:30, which means for Feel Good Friday, it's the Tech Friday edition of Business Express. I'm Sope Martins, and this is Smooth Breakfast. And joining me for the next 15 minutes, I've got Rotus, and Fisaya Durjai is joining us in this for the episode. Good morning and good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm very well. Hi, Shopper. Good morning, Lakers.
All right, now let's take a look at what we're going to be doing today. So for a Tech Friday edition, we're actually going to be discussing tech in terrorism and the tech solutions that we can put towards tackling terrorism. This is going to be an interesting one because I think this is a conversation we need to have. Now, in order to get your contribution to the conversation heard on air, all you need to do is go to the different platforms, send your WhatsApp messages in to 0809 444 981. You can also go over to youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos, where we are streaming live. All right. So, gents, Let's see how this goes. So let's start that conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Shokwe. I mean, Fisayo, we've seen what's been happening in Kaduna in particular. So I guess the first thing is whether or not my question to you is whether or not technology can be successfully deployed around Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. What do you think? And Lagos, this is a question for you as well.
Of course, I believe technology is important or can be used essentially to improve security systems. There are surveillance systems that could be deployed across large areas of land to be able to monitor, to know what is happening per time. Right. There's identity management solutions that could be deployed to know who is doing what per time. There's a lot that could be done with technology, and I think that it's not even a very expensive solution to deploy to a large extent, right? I know we've started doing things around identity management, SIM card registration, but all of these things are technology, solutions that could help, but it just appears that Nigeria has a different or peculiar problem with the use of some of these technology solutions, because having deployed so much on identity management, like almost everybody has their NIN today, having linked their mobile numbers to their identity management, national identity solutions, right? And I'm wondering how many crime, how many security situations are being forestalled because of that. Of these, measures that they've put in place. I'm not sure I've seen any at all. I'm not seeing one, right? So what's the point of having to do a lot of these things if we won't be able to, use it to the full extent, right? I think I've seen some statistics recently about some of the most surveilled states or cities across the world. Nigeria is nowhere to be found in some of those places, right? I've seen people talk about being kidnapped, entering buses at bus stops, and then being kidnapped from there in Lagos. And I'm wondering, there should be surveillance systems that would know which bus they entered, right? And then you can know, do you understand? This is not rocket science. You could see, okay, so someone was said left home, went to work, and was maybe kidnapped in a bus. Right, so you could know it if you left home at 6:30 because you could know when they left home, got to the bus stop. You could know the timing in which that event happened and look at the security footage to be able to say, yes, this is what happened. This is the bus you entered, and of course you can track the bus where it went to because you can continue to see the bus's route if you have enough security systems or surveillance systems across major roads in the city. You know where it turned to, where when last the bus was seen, so they can track some of these things. It's not rocket science. It's basic systems essentially, right?
But Officer, just to jump in there. If you look at your typical downfall bus, those things are half dead. They are polluting the environment. Their engines don't work. The headlights don't work. Not to talk of. So I think, is that an identity issue as far as registration? Is that an informal economy issue? I mean, what you know? Yeah, there's BRT. There's the proper BRT buses which have, I think, they have Wi-Fi and air conditioners and so on. But then there's the downfall issue and unregistered buses. So, you know.
Yes, both of them. So I'm saying that it doesn't necessarily have to be surveillance in the bus. I'm saying surveillance on the road, right? So it means that the bus movement on the road can be seen. If
So
you are not able to
basically, Fisai, what you are saying is that it should be like in all of those procedural dramas that we watch, in which somebody goes missing, you can track them from the security footage of
yes,
on the streets, and then from shops as well.
Yeah, exactly, right. I mean, it's not rocket science, and I know that there was a time in Lagos. I mean, when during President Jonathan's time, that they talked about some contracts for surveillance cameras in Lagos and Abuja. Of course, the money was stolen, nothing was done, right? And of course, the debt is still being owed till today, right? Nothing was done. Nobody was prosecuted for stealing the money anyway. So, but again, nothing was done, about that. My point is that these things are basic, because I've seen. I mean, it has happened to a close friend of mine. The person couldn't even remember what happened afterwards. He just saw injuries on his body. But he knew that he entered a bus from a bus stop, and no one could help to know, okay, what kind of bus was entered. And of course, people go through these things every day of their lives, and nothing. I mean, the next thing, the governor will show up and talk about how, give condolence speeches. These things are preventable, and they're not very expensive solutions to deploy. These things are, to a large extent, preventable, right? If you have street lights, there are cameras in those places. And of course, many African cities, even this, when I went to Nairobi, you can be monitored, you can be seen. All of these things are, phones can be tracked today, right? And they are not expensive solutions to deploy. So my point is that, technology is a veritable tool to address insecurity across Nigeria and across the world. I remember someone saying that. Yeah.
Real quick, what you mentioned, tracking of movements, tracking of phones. Is there any breach in terms of privacy? Is there a line that is being crossed in terms of privacy in order to attain the level of security that we need with technology?
I mean, so there's always a privacy issue when it comes to security, especially when it comes to preventive, right? But before you say we want to track mobile phones, right? Because that might be a privacy issue. There's still just the surveillance of public areas. With that, we'll move a long way.
The Rotus and Fisaya, that is actually something that I'm wondering, are we even at that point in the conversation? Because yes, when people talk about being secure versus privacy, their right to privacy, there's also the question of when you come to nanny states. Right now, we don't really have much in the way of surveillance when it comes to the general public.
Yeah.
And that's
so we're still a long way from privacy issues, and all of that. We're still a very long way, far away from that, right?
Ooh, I see, can imagine comments, by the way. Let me read out this one from Gerard, who says, there is a satellite system called Eye in the Sky that can be obtained by anyone. Why can't the government deploy it? That's what Gerard's asking. And then we have a message in from Nedu, who says, I recently installed a solar-powered LTE CCTV camera on my farm, and it reduced my physical inspection from once a week to once a month. So benefits of technology and security right there.
Sifaya, what about the rural areas? If you think about the Northeast, where banditry and terrorism are really banditry, terrorism, same thing, where terrorism is really ravaging that area. The Abuja-Kaduna rail, we saw videos of where that train was stopped, lots of bush around that area. How do you scale that type of tech in rural areas? It looks like it's costly.
I mean, of course, it's costly, right? It's very costly, no doubt about that, especially where there is the population density is not very high. So again, I think that you have to largely prioritize. This is not the first time that security threats along the rail lines. This is not the first time there is security threats in between Kaduna Abuja road in itself. So you can prioritize, some areas over others, right? So it's not like, track the whole of my village because hey, maybe there's really no reason for national security
or look at historical hot points
or major security threats. Yes, but of course, when we start seeing something happen consistently, Abuja Kaduna Road has been happening for years. Since the rails were launched, there have been smaller attacks on the train before, right? So we could say, okay, these are places that we need to, invest a bit more on surveillance or security systems on, this and that. So you can see what is happening clearly there. So, I mean, right now, nobody, even from eyewitness account, there are conflicting reports about how the bandits came, what happened. We are depending on eyewitness reports to tell us this is what happened. It doesn't just work like that, right? That no one could, knows what happened from a security perspective, right? And of course, these are things around, even communication. How do these people communicate with themselves? Do they use the similar network that we use? Are this communication trackable? Do you understand? I mean, there are things that can be done, even if you're not just using the surveillance systems that we already talked about. So, but I think that it is irresponsible not to have, surveillance on a rail track because that is a path that carries hundreds and thousands of people. It's
now,
totally
I've got
irresponsible.
a question for you, Fisaya, and Rotus as well. But before that, I want to read some of the messages that we've got coming in. So Charles Chidozie says, surveillance cameras, where do we have power to start with? There's so many good ideas when it comes to Nigeria, but when it comes to security, it becomes more difficult to implement when we don't have the basic requirements. Fix power, because diesel is now expensive. But then again, we've got solar-powered cameras and surveillance systems.
My security light here in my house is solar powered, so I don't have to use. So it comes on at night. That's security light in itself, right? So, and of course, cameras can be powered just with a solar panel on top of it. Again, but put solar panel on top of it, charges the batteries during the day, use some of the power during the day, and of course at night the cameras keep on working because it's just a camera that's on it, and of course sending the footage to backend server. Cloud. You don't have to have a server room essentially. Google Cloud, simple, right?
All right, we've got about a minute left. So let me read some more messages. Gilbert Musa from Festac says, on tracking devices for security of citizens, we need to ensure basic infrastructure like electricity and undisruptive phone connectivity, amongst others, to ensure safety. Whilst Austin, let me see if I can get this message, says, security cameras are good to check insecurities in Nigeria, but those to handle it will always connive with the criminals. And it kind of leads me, but not really, into the question I wanted to ask, and I think we just go a few seconds. What about theft? Because we have seen some great ideas on track to being implemented, where we'll see cameras, we'll see all sorts, and then the next day they're gone, as the ghosts in the night came and spirited them away.
Theft of security equipment.
What would we do about that?
I mean, so even places that had security cameras, right? The Lekki, toll. Somehow the footage disappeared after the events of the shooting. There are people that argue whether the shooting happened or not, right? Again, and of course the minister of the former Lagos governor discovered some mystery cameras around the toll gate again, but this. I think at some point, as if you put so much, if you invest so much in security systems, the system, the people managing this, then become very as important as the infrastructure you put in place. If the people don't want these things to be used, it won't be used. So that's why, again, for the umpteenth time, you have to get the best people in government. You have to get the best people in our civil service to ensure that yes, things work a lot more smoothly, I guess.
Okay, then, Fisaya, thank you so much to you. And thank you, Rotus, of course, every single day right here on Smeed's Breakfast, Business Express from 6:30 to 6:45. And the conversation continues on social media. At Rotancode will be with you. Tag him and tag us in on the conversation as well at Smooth981 FM. And Fisaya, for Tech Friday, where can people find you?
Aremo Fisayo on Twitter. Aremo
Armo
Fisayo.
Fisayo. There we go.
Yes.
Armo Fisayo. And at Rutan Code. Coming up. Thank you so much, gentlemen. That's all
Thank
for
you.
Tech Friday edition. Goodbye, Rotus. I'll see you Monday.
Yeah.
And coming up, it is going to be great music as we take a look at the news stories with the analysts in the green room, because 7:30 is just around the corner, and that is when Freshly Pressed comes about.
Brought to you by InterSwitch. Transaction Solutions.